Stars that twinkle in the night so bright, guiding paths with gentle light. Echoes of the past we hear, carried on the wind so clear. Colors blend in harmony, life's a vibrant tapestry. Every beat a story told, ancient wisdom pure as gold. Let the rhythm take you high, raise your hands up to the sky. Feel the energy ignite, celebrate the day and night. Rise of the sun in the morning light, drums in the distance take flight. Heartbeats echo through the trees, dancing shadows in the breeze. Feel the pulse of the ancient land, footprints mark the golden sand. Voices harmonize the song, nature calls and we belong. Let the rhythm take you. Ignite, celebrate the day and night.
Okay, we're gonna welcome everybody. So in a minute, we're just gonna start. We'll be stopping the music in a minute. Just giving a couple of minutes for people to join.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. So
Oh, were you talking to me?
not yet.
Okay, all right.
Tony, would you like me to just introduce you for 10 seconds as we start?
Yes, Professor. We're gonna do that. So let's go for it, please. Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and begin. Students, colleagues, it's my pleasure to introduce us to this next panel discussion as part of Africa Week. Tony, to you is the CEO and founder of Renewables in Africa, and he is going to be our moderator for this panel discussion. Tony, it's all yours.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Professor. And like I say, I'm delighted to be able to have the second conversation that's second I'm taking part of. But obviously, this is day 4 of the Morehouse Africa Awareness Week, right? And we're very much delighted to have you with us, right? So welcome everybody again. So people attending virtually, but also physically, and all our speakers, right? So like the professor said, Tony Tiu, the founders here of Renewables in Africa. And what we do, we raise awareness about renewables energy and sustainability. And I can tell you a little bit more about that. So feel free to reach out to me, or including on LinkedIn. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can talk about. And today I have the distinguished pleasure to be your moderator for this very interesting conversation that we're going to have: sustainable water solutions for water well project in Africa, and more than that. So, and I want to start by a staggering statistic that hopefully will call upon your attention. So I'm sure you all heard about the 600 million, right? So I'm talking about the 600 million that's obviously lacking electricity in Africa, because that's a statistic that is well publicized. But I don't know if you know about the 400 million. Yeah. In fact, 400 million, as we're talking about, this is actually the amount of people in sub-Saharan Africa, so where I come from, that lack access to basic drinking water, right? And we're talking about something like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 people without reliable source of clean water. And if you think about that for a second, right? So the consequences could be quite severe, right? So we're thinking about the health that could be impacted, educations, economic opportunities, for entire communities. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about here. But I don't want you to be thinking that everybody in Africa can know something as well when we listen to the media. So that's sometimes the perception that people will have. As soon as they're hearing 400 million, they get the impression that everybody in Africa. No, because the population in the whole continent, it's about 1.4 billion these days, right? So, like I say, 1.3, 1.4, 1 in 3, 1 in 4. That's what we're talking about here. However, it's quite significant. It's almost like the entire population of the US obviously is lacking basic water. That's what we're talking about here. But there is a good news though, and the good news is that we have solutions around that. There is a lot of innovative technologies, but also community-driven initiative and strategic partnership that are taking place and making a difference. And today, what we're going to be doing together is to explore how new water world technologies, grassroots engagement. I think you have somebody with you in the room that I'm sure will tell you more about that. But also sustainable strategies that can help bridge this gap and bring lasting change. And to guide the conversation, so we fortunate here, like I said, because we put together so distinguished panelists. So I have Jonathan Akwamwa, so he's joining from Ghana, CSR Ghana. He talked to us about cutting-edge water technology to improve clean water in Ghana. So we have Sylvie Bello, who's with you. So she's the founder CEO of the Cameroon American Council. She talked about how diaspora engagement and community-led initiative can really drive sustainable water solution. And John Jordan, who's the co-founder and managing partner of Fight for Light. He will share some insights on ensuring long-term sustainability and scaling water project through stakeholders collaboration. So yeah, so we're gonna have very interesting conversation here, looking at the biggest barrier to water access and explore real-world success stories and really uncover some solutions in here. And before we dive even further in the conversation, so let me maybe allow as well my colleague panelists here to very briefly introduce themselves, and then after that we can move forward. But we all gentlemen here, so Sylvie, you're also in the room. So I'm hoping you wouldn't mind me asking you to start and introduce yourself if possible, please. If you can hear me, sir.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Beautiful.
Perfect. So hello, bonjour, salam. I don't know what other languages y'all speak here at Morehouse. I am Sylvie Bello. I'm with the Cameroon American Council and got in here from Washington because they said Morehouse. Like, whoa, I better come through in person because you are it, right? Congratulations on your 30th anniversary for the Africa Awareness Week. This is major. Let's give it up. Like what? 30 years, you know, spreading the word, and thank you. It's very fitting to host it here in your science building, and even particularly in this environmental, let me get it right. Environmental studies program. Very apropos. So cannot wait to share more and to also learn from my co-panelists. So thank you, Tony.
Yeah, and it's great because today we properly have a hybrid panel, right? So that's great. And we want to show about the setup before, but I love what I'm saying, right? So I'm sure Jonathan will agree with me. So Jonathan, maybe you want to introduce yourself as well?
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Jonathan Akwamwa. I was born in Ghana until the age of 5 and moved to the U.S. and was raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and went to Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. And after graduation, I got out of the cold winter and relocated to Atlanta, Georgia. And I worked with United Way of Atlanta, right there on Edgewood, for over 15 years. Been in the nonprofit sector for about 30 years. Served as United Way director here in Ghana for 3 years before I started my own nonprofit. And my nonprofit is doing very well in Ghana, connected with the diaspora and along with the D9 that are doing marvelous and great things here in the country of Ghana.
Excellent, fantastic. So last but not the least, John.
Hey, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. My name is John Jordan. I'm a graduate of Morehouse College. Really excited. My nonprofit really focuses on offering a new vision and a new pathway for HBCUs, specifically the students, to have experiences where we can really transform our institutions into hubs for sustainability and innovation for this next economy, and make sure that we can leapfrog as Africans here in America and also do so intercontinentally, and really create an exchange platform. And so that's what we look to share about and talk about from our experiences. I'm really excited to be here with my co-panelists. Thank you.
Excellent. And again, we want to thank you taking the time to attend this conversation, because I know some of you could have gone and do many other things, but you've decided to obviously take part in what we're going to discuss about today. So what we're really hoping is at some point in the conversation, we want to make sure that you get involved. So please don't hesitate, right? So we're not biting here, right? And all questions are welcome, right? So because you're here to learn, but also bring your contribution. So when I come to you later on, please do voice your question if you have any, and I'm sure you would, because the caliber of people that we, put forward for you today, I'm sure there's a thing or two that you learn. But now that we've set the stage for today's conversation, so we want to hear from the panelists, right? So they will bring diverse perspective, but also practical solution on how we tackle the water challenges. And how it's going to work is we're going to have, first of all, each speaker speaking for about 15 minutes. And I'll start with Jonathan. And Jonathan will speak, and after that, when all the speakers have gone through, so we'd have a little Q&A, because I'll prepare some questions for them. And after those Q&A session, I'm going to turn to you, the audience. So bring some question that you would have gathered, and that should obviously take us to the end of this panel. So altogether, it's 90 minutes, obviously less than 90 minutes now, because obviously we started in about 10 minutes ago. But yes, so we're just going to turn towards you, Jonathan. Yeah, because you are in Ghana, you're doing fantastic things. So I wanted you to introduce us to your cutting edge to water technology. So, and how you make an impact in Ghana. So, but maybe you want to first of all properly introduce that. So we have some time, so 15 minutes. So yeah, please take us forward.
Hey, well, as I said, my name is Jonathan, and I have been in the nonprofit sector for about 30 years. I relocated back to Ghana in 2010 as the executive director for United Way Ghana, and did that for 3 years before starting my own nonprofit, which is Team CSR Ghana. Team CSR stands for Training, Evaluation, and Measurement of Corporate Social Responsibility. And so that is what I do, is try to bring projects to Ghana that make lasting impact to communities, and also help to advocate for corporate bodies being more responsible and giving back to communities that they do business in. Unfortunately, Ghana's nonprofit environment is lacking in a lot of things. People don't give as much as they do in the U.S. because, first of all, there isn't any incentive to give. There's no tax write-offs or social service work or any other things like that here. So that's why the poverty gap is so big. If you don't have any income or anything or any help from anybody, you're just out of luck. And so people have to really, really beg and do a lot of other things to get help. And as you know, the government is really lacking in African countries, especially with a lot of bribery and corruption and things like that. So the people are the ones who mostly suffer in those type of situations. Things that could be going to help to develop roads, to help develop infrastructure, to help the poor and the needy and the desperate and the destitute. Those things are not there. For example, I tell people all the time, in the U.S., you can almost go to any corner or any church and get food from a food bank. In Ghana, there isn't one church in the whole of Ghana that has a food bank where you can actually get food from, or a food pantry. So, if a person doesn't have food, they have to really beg or get from the farm or whatever. So again, social services, government infrastructure, things like that are not really active or doing well here in Ghana. That's one of the biggest issues. One of the reasons that I left the United States after doing so much great work in the U.S. and with the United Way to come to Ghana and really try to, help my people and my country. So again, one of the things that I've done since I've been here with my nonprofit is we look at tackling so many different issues. We help kids that are reading under trees. Those are schools that are started under trees, and so that they don't even have a building to learn in. And so we help build schools, we help build clinics, we help build IT labs in schools that haven't even seen a computer, and so many things like that. But what my biggest and my most proud thing that I do is that we help communities have access to safe drinking water to curb illnesses such as malaria, cholera, diarrhea, things that are prominent in the early infant death syndrome high cases here in Ghana. And so I've been working towards doing that. And by God's grace, we have been very successful in that. In the past a few years, we have been able to build over 120 boreholes or well water in 120 villages all over Ghana, providing access to safe drinking water for 200,000 people. That is something I'm very proud of. We've been able to have the help of the diaspora, of the D9, which I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And so everybody has came on board and partnered with my nonprofit to do this amazing work in Ghana, and we keep doing it every day. Should I speak on about what the water wells now? Am I still speaking or?
Yeah, go on actually. So you still have a
Okay.
little bit of time. Yes, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the water well situation here in Ghana is really called a borehole. Water wells are wells that are dug by hand, and that was the process for many, many years. Now this is called a borehole, where you have this big, humongous rig that comes in, kind of like an oil rig, and it drills to the water table. And so people are able to then long pipes are inserted along with the electric pump to bring the water up to the surface, where people have taps where they can get water out of in the community. And so we teach the community how to make that sustainable, or like how to repair these pumps once they break down and things like that. So they're called boreholes here in Ghana. Because again, it's drilled down to the water table, and that's the new technology that is used here in Ghana. There's also water reservoirs where we teach people how to collect rainwater by attaching pipes and stuff from their roof that goes into a cemented underground water collection apparatus. Hello? Okay. Yeah. So that is the another way of collecting water that we work with people to do here. But again, the government is trying to get tap water out to almost every villages, and again, because of corruption, other issues, they're not able to do that. So you have tons of agencies that deal with water. You have Water Aid from the UK. They help do boreholes in communities. And my nonprofit, as I said, we've done over 120, and we could be doing a borehole almost every hour for the rest of my life here in Ghana. We probably wouldn't be able to address all of the need of water in here in the country. So it's a very sad situation. It's a very desperate situation, and so we're still, looking at ways to keep drilling more. But our biggest effort or challenge or what we focus on a lot is being advocates to the government to be responsible and to get these tap waters out to the different villages so that they have a pipeline that comes out there as well. Okay.
Excellent. Yes, I think we can. Yeah, we can hear you. I think that's up to So, quick question, Jonathan. So, how long have you had your charity running? You said.
What'd you say?
How long has it been running your organizations that you set
Yes,
up?
my organization, Team CSR Ghana, has been running since 2013 here in Ghana. I was executive director for United Way Ghana from 2010 to 2013 before I launched my own nonprofit.
Okay. Okay. So we're talking about more than 10 years of track record then there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's actually quite impressive. Excellent. So thank you very much for that. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that? We're going to come to the question. Yeah.
You said?
I think, is there anything that you want to add to what you just said? If not, we're going to move to somebody else, but we're gonna bring some question later, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, good. Like I said, the need is humongous here in Ghana. We need to be able to tap into those who are looking to do things in Ghana. With people relocating to Ghana all the time. Ghana is one of the most safest countries in Africa. It's very safe. It's very friendly. There's a lot of tourism here. Everybody's coming to Ghana. People are coming every day to visit. And so we're encouraging all our diaspora friends, all our D9, all our churches, all our organizations to not only just come and tour the slave castles and their birthplace, their birthright, but also to give back to communities in Ghana through water wells or boreholes and to providing laptops to communities. We have the HAEC, which is an organization of HBCUs in the US that come to Ghana every year, bring about 150 students here, and they're doing amazing work. It would be great if Morehouse could, align with that also. Spelman is coming this year. And so there's just so many opportunities for students to be involved in the work that's going on here in Ghana and to see how they can use their knowledge and education to help to advance our own people.
Yeah, I think I can definitely back this up. So I think I have part of my team. It's in Accra, Ghana, and definitely it's a very friendly country. And I know you had new president just coming recently, and I think the new governor,
Yes, sir.
I guess, keen to do a few things. So thank you very much for that, Jonathan. That was very, very interesting, and we come back to that because I'm sure there's a question or two that people will want to ask you. So for you sharing those insights, how technology is transforming water access in Ghana. So it's very, very interesting and useful to hear. And we now moving to Sylvie, who again gonna bring us maybe go a little more as well in depth as well with what she's been doing. And then I know she definitely gonna put some light on the role of community-led initiative and also talk about how the diaspora can engage to support sustainable water solution. So Sylvie, I think we're gonna move on to you. I know there was a couple of things you wanted to share with me, so share that. I already have one that you share with me, but don't hesitate to share the other if you want to. But let me just move to you. And that's great because I like the fact that you just there in person. So it's even better. That's a great a great hybrid panel. So over to you, Sylvie.
Wonderful. So I did send it to you on the WhatsApp chat. Hopefully
Okay.
someone sent it out to you.
Okay.
While you're looking into, and I labeled them. Okay. So I'm Sylvie Bello again, and just by show of hands, how many people have heard of Cameroon, have been to Cameroon? Heard of Cameroon or been to Cameroon? Heard, okay, good. So that's a great start. How many of you have actually either lived on the continent or are familiar with someone who has been to like a boarding school in Africa? Yeah, what country?
Comoros.
Comoros Island.
Yeah.
They're boarding schools and
So it wasn't a boarding school, but they were born there and raised there.
they were born and raised there? Okay. But so in Cameroon and in many parts of the continent, we have like boarding school, like you have here, basically like a Morehouse type, but for, middle, sometimes even elementary school students. I went to a boarding school. I actually went to an all-girls school called Seka Baptiste College. We like to think of ourselves as the best, but the other girls' schools claim they are too, so who knows. But at Seka, one of the things, because it's a boarding school, is actually, Jonathan prior talked about, hey, if you come to Ghana, meet with, different folks. So in Cameroon, Bimbia is actually where, I don't know if anyone here has traced their DNA to any parts of the continent, but Bimbia is where our ancestors were stolen and sold to the Americas. And Limbe, Bimbia is a small village next to Limbe, which is a bigger city. And I went to boarding school in Limbe. And there is actually, even though we're so close to the Atlantic, we have a lot of water issues because of all kinds of, you're in this class, so maybe you should tell me what kinds of water issues we may have. But there's a lot of pollution of the water, so we have to get like these water things and then dig wells. So when you're done with Seka, it's called Seka Baptiste College, and so the students are called Sekarets, the ex-students, yeah, so we're called Sekarets, but and the ex-students are called ex-Sekarets. and for short, we're called EXA. So as alumni, when we're out in the world, we're always thinking about, oh man, we need to do a water project. And it's not just limited to us in SECA. We have another girls' school, they're more Catholic, they're called Lords. Lessons, and then for their alum, they're called Lessons. They're also talking about water projects. So today I wanted to talk to you about women-led diaspora projects on the continent related to water. So we have like all of these alumni, and they're always thinking, like, you know, when you become alum, so all the seniors I see here that I got to meet earlier, when you become alums, you're going to be thinking, I wonder what I can do. For many of the alums of these boarding schools, the biggest thing is water. So we do a lot of water projects. And Tony, I don't know if you could please share the first link there that says SECA. It should be, I don't know.
Okay,
Actually,
I think I've been busy, so bringing them up. So just give me 1 second, and I have all of them there. So, and I'll be able to share in a minute. Okay.
So that works.
The first one is Sekaret. Yeah, great. Okay. Okay, let me share my screen.
SECA water project. Perfect.
Okay, let me share the screen now.
Okay. So our alum, we have
Can see
general.
Can you see Sekaret, or that's not the one you want to show me? Oh,
that's perfect. This is perfect.
Okay.
And then so I'm gonna do general. So this is our EXA USA. I was the PR I'm from New Jersey, New York. So my chapter in New Jersey, New York, I was the PR for the chapter. And as you can see, we're always looking at, that's our uniform. And these are the 3 projects that we have ongoing. And the water, sanitation, and hygiene at SBC, Second Baptist College, that is always the big deal. Like, how do we get, how do we get the girls to have water for food, to wash clothes, to wash ourselves. So it's every boarding school. So if you meet an African who's been to boarding school, just be like, what's your water project? Right about all of them will give you some kind of water project. So I'm giving you, tips to connect here. Okay. So so that's us. But so if we go to the second one, which is where it says Georgia, please, the link, Tony, where it says Georgia. So we
this one?
National. No, it would be it's right under Sekaret.
I think
where it says Georgia Women Alum.
That.
Georgia Women Alum. Oh, maybe it didn't come through.
Okay, let me.
Hey, Tony, if you check the chat, you have the second link. I think it's give828.org.
Okay. Oh, give 828. Oh, got it. Okay. Maybe I missed that. Okay, let me do that right now. So
okay, good. So we have
this one, yeah. Okay.
There. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you. So we have great. So if you can mute yourself, that would be wonderful. So we have this umbrella, SECA Baptist College alum, which is not just in Cameroon, it's in the US, it's in the UK, where Tony is at. We're all over, but I think we're here in Georgia. I wanted to tell you about our chapter here in Georgia. I've spoken at my chapter here in Georgia several times. So our chapter here in Georgia, they also, because the national can also have a project, they also have their own project. So that's what they're working on the water project for SECA, for our beloved SECA Baptist College. So just wanted to share how, though we're many miles away from home, be it on the national level or on the local level, or not local, but let's say in the Georgia level, we are always, as women in the diaspora, thinking about ways to support our community. So that's the first part of this conversation. The second part of this conversation is, right here in Georgia, you are considered, you probably already know this, and so just be like, hey, Sylvia, I know all of this. You're considered the capital of the South, especially Atlanta, right? You have a state capital. I love working in different parts. I work in 30 states. And I'm gonna date myself here, but when I first became PR of my SECA alum chapter, I was 21. I'm 43 now. So I was probably right about, I don't know if anyone here is up to is 20, but maybe, a couple of years, you're going to be 20, 21. So I was 21 when I was a PR of my SECA chapter. And so for the last 20 plus years, right, I have been engaging with my community. And one of the things that we saw was that in order to give more, we need papers, which is immigration papers, right? And so as I moved on and moved to other aspects of understanding how to best support the continent, is to have papers in America, right? Because we are in a country that already provides one of the largest foreign aid around the world. So how do we then make those connections? Right here, you're considered the capital of the South. You have your state capital right here, right? Has anybody been to the state capital yet? Really, what took you there?
I interned there.
You interned there for whose office?
Representative Gabe Okoye.
No way! I'm about to post a bill that he wrote for me. You mean you interned there very recently because he's a brand new member?
I still intern there.
Do you? Okay, so maybe tell me your name again.
Javaris Joe.
Javaris is just gonna take on the conversation from here. Is that what it is? Should I continue? Okay, great. So at the state capitol, they have all kinds of support system for other countries. Why not for Africa, right? You're celebrating 30 years. So have a Morehouse Day. Maybe you already have a Morehouse at the state capitol. Maybe even more specific, have an African Awareness Week at the state capitol, right? And that's one. Two, did you know that Georgia, when it comes to Congress, you have 5 Black members of Congress. You have Georgia has the largest Black representative in DC. So I come to Georgia a lot because anytime when I want a big coalition of members of Congress to understand what's going on in Cameroon, I just have to come to Georgia and I can go to 5 offices. So you need to take advantage of that, and that's called the Congressional Black Caucus. So I want to share with you some of the ways in which I've engaged the Congressional Black Caucus. Let's see here. And that would be, would you please go to Lofren, where it says Lofren.house, it would say United States on, this is Tony. Would you please, Tony, would you please go to Lofren.house.gov? I would like to talk about the CBC here.
Normally I have all of them.
Thank you.
No, not this one, yeah? Not this one. No, that's the building.
Yeah.
Is it
maybe the next one?
The next one, what I have is this. Oh, okay, that's one, yeah.
There, Lofren.
Yeah.
Perfect. So remember I said you have 5 members in your congressional delegation here in Georgia. You have 5 of them are Black members. So I always, because once you come to Georgia, that's like 5 right there, So Johnson, his name is Hank Johnson. Who's familiar with him? Hank Johnson. His hair is almost like your hair, actually. You don't know him, but he kind of favors you. If you pull it up, see if he favors your classmate. So Hank Johnson is right here in Atlanta as well. Well, at least let's just say Atlanta Metro. Right in Atlanta Metro. I needed somebody to be a Congressional Cameroon Caucus lead, because in order to work in water projects in Cameroon, I needed to know that, just like they do with Ukraine, when you see the members of Congress have gone to Ukraine to support them with all kinds of different projects, or have gone to Israel to support them with all kinds of projects. I needed to do that, so I went to Hank Johnson and I said, hey, we have a lot of Cameroonians right here in Atlanta, so come support us. And this is what he did for us. It's called TPS, which is an immigration relief. Do you want to share? No?
Oh, no, we just looked at him.
Don't you look like him though? So you see, you better go find Hank Johnson. And so Hank Johnson, Congressman Hank Johnson, we sent him to Cameroon, right? We said, hey, there are lots of Cameroonians who need water, who need different sanitation projects, who need different hygiene projects. Why don't you go to Cameroon? Did we at the Cameroon American Council have the money to pay for that trip? We did not, as opposed to some other, bigger organizations like the Israeli groups or the Ukrainian groups or the Latino groups. We just did not. So we went through the Africa Subcommittee and through the Congressional Black Caucus, which is called the CBC. So we went to the CBC and we said, there is war. War causes all kinds. There was war in Cameroon, and that war in Cameroon causes all kinds of issues, including the lack of sanitation, the lack of water. And in that day, there was a 7-member delegation that went to Cameroon, including Hank Johnson, right? So when he came back, we shared with him that one of the best ways that we can support, you see the Georgia giving money for the Georgia alum, giving money to the water project. We can give more money if we have papers. So we said one of the ways you can do is give us papers, and those papers is called TPS, Temporary Protected Status, right? So those are some of the ways in which we make the connections. And this may be far off for some other group of people, but not for you at Morehouse. You do know about intersectionality, right? You do know about connecting the dots. And that's why I really wanted to come in, because I know that you would understand how to be creative, how to connect the dots. I met with, I forget who now, who said that they're doing biology because they want to go work in technology, they want to go work back in industry, or they're doing biology and environmental science. You know how to connect the dots. So as you're thinking about water and hygiene, connect the dots with policy, connect the dots with immigration as well, right? And then we're going to go to the one on, now that we did this on the federal level, the 3 levels of government, federal, state, and local. So now we're going to go to, thank you, Tony. Could we please go to the one that says the Atlanta, Georgia, the bill track is the Georgia legislation is going to say www.billtrack50. There you go. And if you please scroll, I don't know if I should say scroll up or down. Well, first, you see it says Joe Biden, Homeland Security. And then maybe you're wondering, what does immigration have to do with Georgia, right? Like, it has everything to do with Georgia. You are the capital of the South, right? And as you know about Rep. Okoye, we were so proud that not 1, not 2, but 5 Africans were elected in your Georgia state house. So you cannot be having Africa Week, Africa Awareness Week, without connecting with them and inviting them and letting them put a resolution out. So I'm putting it on you now, Mr. Jones. Is that your last name?
Joe.
Joe, Mr. Joe. I'm putting it on you. I want to know, because the legislative session ends in about March. Have them put out an AAW bill, right, to celebrate 30 years, So you have 5 Africans, who are out there at the state capitol. When I saw that, oh, no, I came to Georgia. And I'm like, I'm not going to have my Africans in the state house and I don't feel my presence, right? Let me give you for contrast. The state capitol has 1 Jewish person. 1. Do you know how many bills come out of that state capitol for the Jewish community and for Israel? Why are we going to have 5 Africans and we don't have bills coming out of there? So we came down, and this particular bill is it's a different program called humanitarian parole. Again, when you have papers, you can have more money and you can do more for water projects back home, right? And now I'm going to, because I'm an activist, which means I act, not the other kind of acting, but as you can see, I have a flair, but which means action. So we're gonna go to, thank you, Tony. We're gonna go to, this is the last link, to house.gov, because you know what? You are Morehouse, right? When you speak up, people are gonna stop and listen. They may not even, you're gonna have to use your Black privilege here, right? So, whatever you want to do, be it in environmental justice, be it a water project, be it trying to get in a job, just find out who your member of Congress is. And all you have to do is you go to house.gov. You see it on there? House.gov. Can we start back from the beginning? Can we just go to house.gov so we can get to this? Tony, please. www.house.gov. So we can walk it through, because, okay, fine. So this is perfect. Okay, you know what? Just put it on your phones. Let me just see you guys do it. House.gov, HOUSE, .gov. And I want you to put your own hometown's zip codes. For the purposes of, for Tony, we're gonna put your colleges. So if you can please, Tony, put in the college, there you go. Is this your college zip code?
Yes.
Okay, great. So before you put, oh, okay, fine. Okay, go to find your representative, put in your hometown zip code. If your hometown is your college, even better. So put in your hometown's zip code and then spit it out. Let me hear what comes up. I'm just gonna go around and look. What comes up? Nancy Mays. Okay, let's see, where are you from?
I'm from Kingston.
Aha! So that's your member of Congress. They're Republican, as you can tell. Let me let me see yours. Oh, nice. So see, so screenshot all of that. So that's the person you're gonna call for anything federal. Oh wait, let me go back. So those are the people let me hear it. So shout out the names of your members of Congress.
I got David Scott.
David Scott, you're from Georgia.
Yes.
Okay, Black man. I know because I'm always, going after him to support us.
It would be either her or David Scott.
Oh, David Scott, you're from Georgia too. Nice.
Dwight Evans.
Dwight Evans, you're from Philly.
Yes.
Okay. Do I know my members of Congress or do I know my members of Congress? Okay, Philly. Congratulations to the Eagles.
Timothy Kennedy?
Timothy Kennedy, out of where? What state? New York? You're from upstate New York then? Okay, what city?
Buffalo.
Buffalo, New York. Very nice. Okay.
Sanford Bishop.
You're from Georgia too. Black man, right? Nice.
I have.
Oh, we already talked about mans. Yeah. Yes,
I
sir.
have Russell Fry,
Russell Fry, what state is that?
South Carolina. He's a Republican.
Republican. Well, guess what? They could be Republicans, they could be Democrats. The fact is your taxes go to them. So for the purposes of Morehouse, Nikema Williams. If you could please, Tony, click to Nikema. And I'm wrapping, I have like only 3 more sentences and then I'll close my session. So when you go to, and I want all of you to know who she is. She's also the president of your Democratic, like your Georgia Democratic, whatever it is, like party, right? So it's good to know her. She knows a lot of people. So if we go to contact me, I don't know where it is, or all the way at the bottom, I want you to see where her office is. It's minutes from here, minutes. See, that's her DC office. Who comes to DC to hang out? Or who has family in DC? You come to DC? If you come to DC, you better come to her office, okay? I don't know what brings you to DC. I don't know if it's CBC weekend or what. You better come to her DC office. But you know what? You have to go that far. On one of your breaks, because you will go tell her it's your 30th anniversary, won't you? Period. When you go, look. Look at how close it is. Look at how close it is. She needs to know about this class. She needs to know about this 30th anniversary, and for all the jobs you're looking for all the different things, even with your family, with school. You need to know her because there are other Black people here in Georgia that don't go to that office. And even if they go, they're not going to take them as seriously as a Morehouse student. That's why we have to leave DC to come here to go there, but you don't have to do that. So I'm just going to conclude by saying water project, right? And water and sanitation intersects with immigration. It intersects with foreign policy. And all of this has public policy. Always connect your public policy because I'm sure your professors will tell you that there are things that, oh no, this is, not the right standard for some, and I don't even know this, but I don't know like all the legal, environmental things, but the truth is if there's any law on anything, it means there's a policy for it. Who is going to change that policy? I shared earlier that, and this is really my last line, I shared earlier that the new Health and Human Services, right, the new person, he's an environmental lawyer. Write to him. Right? And put the connections between, water, environmental justice, and health. So that's where I'm going to conclude. And then lastly, I did an op-ed on him. So you can look me up, Sylvie Bello, and see my op-ed. And that's it. Thank you. Oh.
I think that was amazing. I don't even know where to pick up from. No, Sylvie, that was fantastic. It was very energetic, and to be honest, I'm very glad that you actually did go to Morehouse, because clearly it gave something else to this session, and I'm sure everybody, for us, virtually, we've enjoyed that. People as well in physically have enjoyed. So one last quick thing before I move to Jan. So, but I don't want you, Sylvie, to feel like you're a preferential treatment. That's why I didn't mention that before. But I'm actually from Cameroon, so I understand very well what you're talking about. So that's actually
Cameroon.
so we can take it outside and just and have some further conversation. Yeah. So, but I understand what you're talking about. So I actually grew up in Douala, which I'm sure you will know.
I was born in
Nah,
Douala.
nah, now I want to turn into John Jordan, and John will take us through the long-term sustainability of water project and how we can have different stakeholders that can collaborate to kind of scale up this solution. And I know, John, you also have some link that you probably would want to share. No problem. So if you just kick off, and I will actually start by preparing those links so that you're ready to share. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. And Sylvia, I absolutely love your work. I definitely have some resources I wanted to share and see how we can get in the mix. And I'll just say this to the students at the end of the day, I think it's very key to make sure you keep these relationships because a lot of our work that we even do to this day all started with relationships we built while students at Morehouse. And I always say this, and I think what Sylvia was really speaking to is that there is a privilege of being a Morehouse man. Is that when Morehouse does something, the world does pay attention. And that's why the university or school of the AUC holds their brand in such high regard. But the brand was built off of the sacrifice of Black people working together and addressing our own needs and figuring out a way and making a way where there wasn't one. And you all must continue that legacy. As students, you all have a certain agency to get in good trouble, as a former congressman said, in that our work is really about that I'm going to present is about how we built on those relationships that we made while students. We built our nonprofit maybe the year. My first contract was actually with Morehouse College. And we started at home, and I think it's really important to understand what these larger things are globally, but act locally. And that there is a deep connection between what's happening in the deep south of America and the global south of Africa in general. And so our work in us launching our organization started with a contract at Morehouse. We ended up applying for a Morehouse competition. We got selected that competition, and that put us on a path to receive a global fellowship called Echo and Green that they invested in us, and it put us at the edge of social innovation. One of our kind of mentors during that time and really advisors is a woman named Felicia Davis. And so I'm going to kind of share the most recent trip that I actually did in Senegal with Felicia. And then this is the elders, and this is just out of libation, out of respect. The elders who really pulled together our trip. Miss Davis is the sister in the middle. And then Dr. Palm and his uncle are the team on the ground in Senegal that we actually work with. They built a organization. Miss Davis represents an organization called HBCU Green Fund. And then Dr. Palm is built a village in the area that his grandmother on his mother's side, maternal grandmother, comes from Mandouai. And this is in Sahel region, which is in sub-Saharan Africa. If you look at just the Sahara Desert, the area, if you follow the Senegal River, the area right at the top between Senegal and Mauritania is really where they're actually positioned. And one of the things that's happening in this area is these areas used to be lush green lands. And now as things get hotter and climate change is happening, desertification is rapidly taking away the greenery that was there just generations ago. So his grandmother had on the same land over 200 of her cattle. She knew all of her cattle by name. Dr. Palm says that she loved them more than she loved them. And they fed off of the greenery that was in this environment. And so they bring us here as an exchange between HBCU students in America, college students that go to Sheikh Anta Diop and university. And, we in America probably say it as Diop, but Diop is really at the University of Senegal in Dakar. That Dr. Palm teaches English there. So it's a cultural exchange is why this is happening. And that we just use the issues that we're facing to actually share what's going on in our different communities. But ultimately, it's about building relationships and then being able to actually have a cultural exchange as we do this. And so this is the group of students that we actually went. And so you'll see university students from the HBCU, AUC university students, some Spelmanites. We're in Mahogany in Motion. You also had members from Clark. And students from University of Sheikh Anta Diop University. And then also just people from the village of Mondawai. And the region is called, the area is called Lahel. And this is really where it happened, where we did a lot of our exchange work. And you start in Dakar, and then you actually go out into take a long drive out into the desert. And this really starts with, Felicia made a donation. And this is where you talk about just that policy. In addition to policy and having papers, we actually have to use the paper of money and capital in America. If you invest abroad with what you all make in your refund checks, you can actually make impact investments that can send students to school. You can provide a whole village to actually go to school. You can also build water wells, which is how this entire collaboration started. So the HBCU Green Fund donated a water well to the program of Redes. So Redes actually is a eco village in the Sahel region. And this sign really just stands for the Network of Emergence and Development of Eco Villages in Sahel, which is what Redes stands for. But it's in French. The local language there, I'll say, is Fulani and Pular, and they speak their official language is like French. So that's one of the things that is kind of unique. And actually going abroad is to really be immersed in that culture. And so this sign is really about the water access program, and the well is well number 44. That was built with support of Felicia Davis and the Friends of Redes is how this was. This is now 2 years ago. So this was in March of 2023. So what we're going to share is that actual growth since that project started. This is the Redes Village, and this is a Spelmanite who's now getting her master's down in University of Florida, South Florida. And then this is Couture, who is a Black Voters Matter organizer and actually does this work with us. And she came over as an advisor like I did. It's like Jonathan's work around, really digging a borehole is you have the engineers, you tap into water under the ground, it comes up, and then you actually have a way of actually getting the water. Now, that was one of three main water systems or approaches to water that I'll get into that we use there. Now, because starts with a cultural exchange, this was my family there. They really take you in as family. And the interesting part that I loved about this was, we had our own room, but most of the homes here, so when you're going out there, there's absolutely very little light. So you're literally lit by the stars, and you actually are able to connect in a way that is really pure and is really based in a, we always say this is as activists, our work was really about kind of building community and community building. And I think one of the most important things is to realize is that we really forgot what it is to be in a village and to be a part of a village. And that's what this family was able to really help us. So our family was the gentleman who made bread for the village. So he woke up at 4:30, and that whole saying of you live it how you get it, his entire family, he would wake up at 3 a.m. and make bread. And if he doesn't make his bread, no one in that village eats. So the concept of a village is you must make your contribution, and that is in your purpose or whatever it is, you figure out what that is and you make it to your village and your people and your tribe. And that is what other people will need to sustain. And so that was one of the gifts that this family gave me, and we're still in conversation to this day. And this is the Jama family. So this is our people when we're there. So part of, again, the desertification is that it's entire desert land. So this is even some of the progress that they've made in us coming in to do this. It was entire this desert area for when we first started this project. And what we're doing here is that one of the main sources is that it's actually right next to the river. And it's really ironic and just kind of its own paradox to be in a place where you have a very big kind of system of water, and then to actually have this reality of dry desert land that's actually affecting the villages, right? Where people actually have to travel for miles. And you see these stories of people traveling for miles, but when you're walking it in that 100-degree heat, it hits a little different. And so what they are doing is using water pumps, solar powered water pumps, to actually move the water of the Senegal River and actually desert and plant a lot of the lush life that has actually died out and passed out. And they're using the same type of things that Jonathan was talking about, the solar power pumps. They literally have an entire pumping system that moves it from this river into the village. And also during rainy season, what still happens is that this floods the entire area. So everywhere that was dry actually gets covered in water. But the issue here is that the infrastructure can't stand. It's like, yes, how does this actually happen? And then it gets so dry, is that these intense changes in weather now take that energy, that water out of the soil, but the soil is still rich. So what they also do is they bury big barrels of water into the thing so that when it floods, they can actually tap into that water. And that's what you see my business partner Marquise has, was actually water that was actually saved from the dry season that we then use in actually keeping the plants that we actually end up planting alive. And so one of the structures that we ended up building was a stone structure, is because it is the desert. And as I said, it's sun can bake a lot of these new plants that you end up planting before you can actually get to the point of planting them in the ground. So this is kind of starting the same way you start in growing seeds and growing food. You're growing trees the exact same way. It's just farming trees. And so we actually built a nursery to actually allow those trees to grow to a point where you can then put them into the ground. And then you actually use the water from the barrels to actually put them there. And then the solar power irrigation system allows them to stay and kind of grow from there. And so you see us building the nursery here. And then we ended up, after leveling out these are the beginning of different trees that we end up planting, or things like moringa or things of the sort that we've ended up putting into these different areas in order to really grow. They do grow fast. So we have a network of farmers who are there who do all of this. This is in completely organic farming. Although you won't have USDA certified organic, it's everything is naturally done. And you literally can feel, and I'll use this just to speak to the health of it, the quality of food and the richness of the soil. While I was there, I actually suffered from ADHD. I'm on, Vyvanse and between Adderall and things when I'm in America. When I was in Senegal, the pace of life and the nutrients in the food, I didn't need my medicine and quit it by the time I got back. And that was because of the nutrients that's actually in the soil. So when you plant, it does grow. And it grows actually really rich and fast. And so we take these seedlings out of that nursery and then end up planting them. And so that's what we were doing. And here, this is a high schooler who was using and built an application that actually measures and the weather patterns and actually gets data, because there you don't really have cell signals. So they get it off of the satellites. And that she built an application using the weather patterns and general big data project. And she did this all as a high school student. You all can do the exact same thing while, graduates in Morehouse, right? It's all a matter of how far your curiosity and your commitment will take you. You figure out, again, make a way out of no way. And that's what this young lady did, was sharing her digital system with us. And then this is an example of the planting in one of the environments. And so this is Abu. In a year, this is where it's actually at now, is that you see these things growing in certain areas, these trees have grown so high that they actually provide canopy and shading that people now grow under again. And so these are, again, the buckets from when the rainy season happens. So this is just an example of the type of work. And what my work is focused on innovation is how do we take this work and actually take it to a whole nother level, right? One of the things it started with is the boreholes, and that we've come across, and what our work does is bring students like you all. We find innovators on the edge. So like Sylvie and her water projects, we get in the mix and figure out how we can collaborate together, right? Tony and his renewables, building from the relationships. That is our wealth, is our relationships. We were wealth ever before we were able to own money or have money. So we have to understand and get back to the basics of, if we all work together, we can actually grow together. And so our work is bringing inventors on the edge. And one of those inventors is a gentleman named Moses West, who built a technology called the atmospheric water generator. And I'm allowing him to just share this and introduce this technology. And then I'll kind of speak to some of the project opportunities that we have coming up with Dr. Bloomer in the next semester. And that's the end of my time. Hold on one. Could you all hear that sound-wise?
I think I can't hear just yet.
Water is the foundation of life.
That's good now.
The one crisis that everyone says, we're going to run out of water. And I'm sitting here saying, no, you're not. You're walking around in it every day. Trillions of gallons of it. You're walking in it. This is the atmospheric water generator. The machine works like this 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The end goal of it is, for me, to eliminate drought. I'm dedicated to saving some lives around the world. I'm dedicated to ensuring that the population of the state of Texas can continue to grow without worrying about water. The buck stops here. I'm not giving up. The only thing I wanted to do from the first time I could remember wanting to do anything was to be a soldier. I joined the military when I was 21 years old, as soon as I graduated from college. And as soon as I was commissioned, I went in as a second lieutenant in the United States Infantry. I was a ranger for 3 years in the infantry, and that was one of the most challenging things that I've ever done in my life. And so when I'm down here working and I think I'm getting worn out, all I gotta do is think back to those days and say, if you're not ranger tired, you're not tired, just keep working. So living in Hawaii, I had a neighbor, and he said, Moses, I have this fantastic machine. It makes water. Drank it, sat there and thought about it for a second. I was just looking at the machine. I was mesmerized now. He says, it's pulling out the humidity in the air. And it's just the molecules of water in the air. It doesn't bring anything with it. And then that's when I got started. And my idea was make industrial quantities of water. So I sat down and got to drafting and writing and figuring it out. I got with some engineers from one of the universities here, and he said that we could make 4,100 billion gallons of water annually with just a small fraction of power that we throw away. Why water? Because water is what we need, and I thought of it. And since I thought of it, I had to complete it. One thing a ranger never does is start a mission and not finish it. Mission start, mission completion. That's how it works. Anything less than that, completely unsatisfactory. You're not living up to the code.
And again, the key thing I wanted to share here is not only is this a Black inventor who's built an industrial version of this, so we're working with Moses West. His commitment, again, with the Morehouse brand, when we mentioned Morehouse, he said, oh, you all can do an innovation month. He wanted to do one at Morehouse and also do something in Africa. And we let him know that we're building this as an exchange project. As you've seen, the larger water atmospheric generator, we're going to put in the shipping containers, kind of pallets inside of areas like Ghana and things of the sort. You can develop in a shipping container, and communities actually use these to live in, redevelop, whatever it is. And so we're dropping these in different villages and designing one in shipping containers. But we're also, as you see, it's very big. We're also building a smaller version that can connect to a rain barrel and also be able to do this in an area like the Morehouse greenhouse, right? So we can actually understand how you, one, capture water, clean it. There's a filtering technology at Clark Atlanta. The intellectual property there would allow us to actually take things that are sewage water and turn them into clean drinkable water. right? And these are in our universities, and this is technology that most people never know exists in the labs in the school. And so being able to have a rain barrel that is also an atmospheric water generator is a part of the design challenge that we can do and build out with you all and with Dr. Bloomer's lab that we can start. And the key thing with his story is, again, he came out of the military, and you can see Morehouse is like a military version for Black males that actually have a commission, mission-based leadership, right? You have a purpose in your life, and you need to have a community that you can connect with and actually share what your mission is in a way that can empower others. Again, our work is about making sure that you can bring that and do that with other people like Moses West or whatever it is that you're going to end up creating. And he just got it from a next door neighbor. So you never know who you're going to meet and how that can change your life direction. So we're looking forward to building with you all, and thank you for the time.
That was just beautiful. Wow. I think the level of conversation that we've had so far, I think I'm very, very inspired. I must admit, yeah, very inspired. Thank you very much for that, John, for the work that you're doing. That's great. And what I love, among other things, it's you also shown us what it means to be impacted by climate change. I know sometimes when living in first world country, so sometimes you don't really measure what people are actually living, actually having to endure on a daily basis. So what you just shown there, I know you share many other things, but the impact that it could have, that you really measure, obviously, why we believe it's very important just to take that very, very seriously. So thank you very much again for that. So what we're going to do right now, it's moving to a little bit of a discussions. So I know we only have about 23 minutes left, so I'm just going to adjust a little bit, change a little bit. So I'm just going to have one question that all my colleagues will hopefully chip in. And after that, I love to get a chance to get our student who made the effort to be here with us today to ask questions, and also the attendees. So the question that I'm going to address to you, John, Sylvie, but also Jonathan. So can you all talk to me very quickly about the biggest barrier when it comes to implementing sustainable water well project? So yeah, very quickly, and after that, we turn into the audience for questions. Anybody can jump in. So Sylvie, John, or Jonathan.
I'll jump. I think in general it's going to be the one, capital is always a big thing, right? So even if you look at Moses West, one of the cost of developing that is a big issue. And then if you look at the water well projects, they have to raise a lot of funding in order to actually have the engineering that can actually do this, right? And it's about organizing the machinery to get on site and be able to do this. And this is where hopefully things like open source. There's a thinker named Jeremy Rifkin who talks about the value of technology and where it's going now is dramatically reducing the cost. They call it zero marginal cost. Is that our ability to really work through a network dynamics or crowdfunding or things of the sort is really how do we activate and organize capital to actually support and address the needs. We realize it's not a technology issue. We have the technology. Yeah. We have the ability and the skills to organize people to actually do this and to change this. Policy is a big issue in this as well that can actually incentivize and support, just like Jonathan said, is that there is no tax incentives for investing in this, right? And then you have the policy landscape that's affecting a lot of things right now in America and internationally speaking, but our ability to have bottom-up development or organizing to move capital to do this work because we know it's needed and not just because it's profitable. We have to do things just because we know other human beings need it.
Yeah, it sounds like a policy, but also the political will to make it happen seems to be some of the toughest challenge that you are seeing. So I don't know if Sylvie or Jonathan want to add up to that.
Yes, I can pick up from the policy side. So policy can be a challenge, but the great thing is every level of government has boards, have commissions. So you know what you're going to do? You're going to apply it into those boards and commissions. So let me break it down. The Congressional Black Caucus, remember, you are sending, you Georgia, Morehouse people, you're sending to DC, not one, but 5 Black members of Congress, right? The CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, has a committee called Environmental Justice, Clean Energy and Infrastructure Task Force. Write to them. Whatever you're doing in class, there's a policy angle, write to them, say, hey, are there boards and commissions that I can join? Quite frankly, it's easy to join when you're younger than when you're older, because then you're going to be fighting with so many other people claiming they have 20 years of experience. But when you're when you're a student, you're going to bring a perspective that those of us with 20 years of experience just do not have, right? So that's one. You have a colleague, Mr. Joe, who's on the House on your state capitol. The state capitol has a committee for natural resources and environmental. It's called Natural Resources and Environmental just Environment. Natural Resources and Environment Committee. Find out when are they having their hearings. Any of your hearings connected to what you're doing. One of the ways to overcome the many challenges we have is to just be on the inside. I talked about acting earlier. There's a line in Hamilton. I don't know if anybody has seen Hamilton, the musical. There's a line there that says, sometimes we need somebody on the inside to let some things slide. Be on the inside, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, I think I have a very good friend of mine who's say the same thing in your survey, but usually we say involve to evolve, right? So that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Another way to say that. So Jonathan, have you got anything you want to add? Otherwise, we're just gonna open the floor to questions from our audience.
Yeah, well, I think they pretty much said everything. It's policies is a big deal, and I think the madam there just explained how they could be involved with that, and I think John also talked about capital being a big issue, and that's the thing. With Ghana and other African countries, a lot of times people don't have the money and they're looking for handouts and a way to for other people to come and help. But one thing that we can do is to help make opportunities when they do come to Ghana and other African countries is to help it make it sustainable. For example, once we do a borehole, there's an electric pump that is involved in that. And once the electric pump breaks down, the people there are normally sitting waiting to see who's going to come and help them, fix that pump. And it could be like, $10 or just, bringing an electrician to do that. So one of the things we do is that we teach them how to repair these pumps. We teach them how to sanitize their water and put chemicals in it and things like that. And I think that's the part that we can all play. Students here, as they come to visit Ghana, they can bring their expertise to help make things sustainable, to help teach and educate our people here in Africa, how to fend for themselves and how to, take care of these boreholes and take care of these opportunities that are presented to them through funding from other resources abroad and things like that. So I think that's a way that we can help to curb some of these challenges that we face, is by helping to teach our people, helping to take your time off, whether you're a student and you're taking a break and visiting Africa, and, get involved in the community and teach them, about some of these new developments and new technology and things like that. So I think that's some of the ways that we can help curb some of these challenges.
Terrific. So we've had some great insights from our panelists now. We talked about the challenges, innovation, policy, which we just insisted on just right now to shape Water Well project in the continent. And you've been very kind. So listening to us for almost 75 minutes now. So we have another 50 minutes before we close this session. But like I say, so I really want to turn into you and ask ask whether somebody in the audience, please, I'll be delighted to hear some questions. Don't tell me that you have nothing to say. So I'll be very surprised because Sylvie has been moving you around, right? So I'm sure you can definitely make sure that otherwise I'm sure she won't leave until you actually ask your question. So we want Sylvie to definitely go home at some point. So Professor Bloomer, I'm also going to turn to you. So is there any questions coming from the floor? So we like to hear from our young people here and then get a chance to hopefully respond to their questions.
Questions? I mean, I've been writing lots of questions.
Who is courageous enough? Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about how how policy, all the different challenges that take place, but I think one of the main ones specifically in underdeveloped nations or nations that are facing these environmental and political hazards that affect the health of the actual citizens is corruption and the bribery and the international but also political relationships within the global environment that we live in. So I guess it's attacking the same question of policy, I guess, and I guess you already, hinted at that, which is going on the inside and making that change from the inside. But how do we truly, as a community of people that are invested in creating change and providing solutions to the needs that these individuals have, that we already have, and we're fortunate enough to have, but how do we truly get together and combat those other forces that may, not necessarily not want to see the needs, met, but specifically, for a reason or another, we could talk about, greed and capitalism, etc. But for a reason or another, they're getting together to stop this from happening. So what are some ideas or some thoughts that you guys have, apart from just, being on the inside and being on these committees and being on these boards, that we could do and implement system-wide in the diaspora, and incorporate other people to actually combat that? I know that was very loaded, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah.
I'm going to let the panelists try to
Okay.
address it.
So I think I'm just gonna summarize what I believe I have heard. Please correct me, Professor, and also Cedric, Phoebe. But what I heard succinctly, it's how can we actually come together? We're talking about policy having a big impact to make sure that we can develop those water projects in the continent. How do we come together to we affect this change from the policy point of view so that things can move forward? Is that in essence what we're looking to respond to here? That a young man was asking?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So question to you, Jonathan, John, but also Sylvie. So how do we, I know Sylvie gave a little bit of an idea how it could happen, but maybe you want to insist on that a little bit more because the gentleman wants to know, so he wants to leave the session knowing exactly what is that he has to do because he feels compelled to act.
I can take a stab. Yeah, I can take a stab. So that's a great question because corruption and capitalism is actually one of the determinants for water crisis because it also leads to protest. I can talk for Cameroon, for instance. When the war started, one of the reasons that they gave for war is that we don't have no roads, we don't have no water. And with the war, it then means it was a lack of water. So there's like one of this cyclical, which comes first. So corruption leads to protest, that leads to war, that leads to lack of water and sanitation. And then we also then need to get together to move that along. Here in the US, there is the World Bank. The United States appoints the president of the World Bank. You are Morehouse, right? That's what you are. So go ahead and make recommendations. Try, because it's the president that does it. Right? So you have the ability, and the World Bank, as maybe when Jonathan and John speak, the World Bank puts out all of these, funding for water and for this, right? So what checks and balances do they have? Right now you have a president that's telling the rest of the world to pay up, right? He's saying that the rest of the world is not doing their own share compared to what America is doing, which that's your tax dollars. Ask to have a meeting. Say, well, while the rest of the world is doing that, what are we doing? How are you making sure that the checks and balances is not just for France to put in more money? How are you making sure the checks and balances for Ghana is for Cameroon? You can have that conversation. He would love to have you. That's why he had the other HBCU at his inauguration, no? Yeah, it was great. I'm not gonna lie. So, finally, the smaller HBCUs get some Morehouse. Everyone knows already about Morehouse. So he's gonna be shocked, right? So those are some of the other angles when it comes to the continent, right? Because you have a guy right now who is saying, you have a president right now who is saying, the rest of the world is not pulling on their weight. If you ever go, I talked about Hamilton before, which is a Broadway out of New York. Anyone travels to New York City? In New York City, at the UN, we have something called USUN, which is the United States Ambassador to the UN. We've had Black women had that role, Susan Rice, Linda Thomas Greenfield. Right now, we have this lady, she's from New York, someone was from Buffalo, New York. There, she's actually not far from Buffalo. Her name is Elise Stefanik, the new UN, write to her, fellow New Yorker. You know what I'm saying? And say that can we come, because that is the group, the UN, and we as Americans, we put way more money into the UN. We can ask them to do some of these checks and balances. Like your fellow alum mentioned, John, what's up? Use your Morehouse privileges while you're a student, and then when you become an alum. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, shall we? Okay. Because just in the interest of time, I know we have less than 10 minutes. So John, can you jump into that? And I'm probably going to move to a second question because I'd like to have at least one or two more questions before we can wrap up. So.
From the lady.
Oh, sorry. I thought, okay.
So I'll pose a question.
There you go.
That's the sister from Philly.
Okay. Do you want to jump in, John, or we can take another question? What do you prefer?
Yeah, I can take another question, and then maybe I'll be able to tie a response that way we can all get one more response.
Let's do that because I'm keen to get one or two more questions before we can wrap up. Is there any questions from the room? That I can see somebody raising hand. Brilliant, I like it. So maybe you want to come forward a little bit, come close to the laptop. We could hear that. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. So you can take the magic seat.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. I'd like to say hello. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. It was an honor to be here and to listen. My question really has to center around strategies that work towards unifying individuals to come together to actively, essentially care about these. They are important issues. However, with the way that the day-to-day lives can sort of blind people to important issues such as, well, just the environmental issues that are at play. How do we go at getting people's attention so that they can look to someplace that doesn't necessarily benefit them, so that they can be reminded of the importance of helping out for more than just material gain?
Okay, I think Jonathan, who set up an NGO, and potentially John as well, definitely, I'm sure, could respond to that. So, gentlemen, Sylvia as well for sure, but let me just give you the priority because I think you have not spoken for a little while. Jonathan or John, so you want to jump into that?
Okay. I think he's talking about the environment or how we can get people interested in that. Is that what his question is?
Yeah, essentially, how can we get people to act and doing what is the right thing to do without necessarily being obviously focused by the financial gain that we get out of it, but really to make sure that they can work towards solving the problem. So that was kind of the question. I just want to get, because you guys are already doing that. You guys are already in the field making things happen. So if you talk about what actually pushed you to make it happen, and how could other people maybe having this kind of idea could obviously make it happen, but at the same time as well find a way to make it a living.
Yeah, I think we can always encourage other people to get involved in some of these projects and some of these things that are going on in Africa. I think one of the issues is to make this something that people can also take ownership with, and it can also be involved in, is by us showing our care for our fellow Africans. We talked about the HAEC and people doing work study abroad and just showing the interest and solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Africa. I think that goes a long way in helping them to also be able to tackle their own issues or to be able to have more appreciation of the issue that they face. But there's always going to be that component of what is in it for them, what they're going to get out of it. Because when you're dealing with issues such as water, and food and where you're going to get your next meal from, how you're going to, drink water and bathe your family when you have to take one bucket and take it a mile from the river to bathe 6 people in the family. It's just very, very difficult to think outside of that box, of your immediate need. And so it's just all hands on deck. We really need more African Americans, more students, more people to reach back and help our own. The government's not going to do it. We can talk about corruption for years. It hasn't changed. I doubt it's going to change anytime soon. We just all need to take an active step in helping our people, just as we do with our nonprofit, to make sure that when we do a borehole in the community, we make sure that we teach them how to make that borehole sustainable. So when we come 5 years down the line, it's still working. These are just some of the things that I think, we can do to keep our people engaged and make sure that they're able to help themselves. I hope that
Excellent.
answered the question.
Absolutely. So hopefully the young man will appreciate. And before I turn into John, before we wrap up, so obviously don't hesitate to reach out to those panelists that you've seen here. So reach out, connect with them, especially at your age. Obviously, you're looking at the fantastic career ahead of you. Make sure that you actually get those connections going. That's actually to get things things moving in life. Relationship is extremely important. I think John has said that. So John, just if you want to wrap it up in a couple of minutes, and after that, bring us all together for landing.
Sure. I think that there's a bridge between both questions. And one question was, and it focused on corruption, and I think it's important to pull that out. And then when you said all of the other issues, you have to take into account what are those other issues, and we need to label them, right? Is racism and also capitalism. They are the same, powered by the same energy and the same mindset. All behavior, and this is a part of economics theory. I'm saying this is just for nurturing who we are as scholars, right? There's a thing is basically says that behavior is considered rational when it's like considered logical and makes sense in the context of the situation, right? And that there's a entire thing is you have to look at the entire system. So the first thing we have to do is to stop doing what we're doing. And we have to be able to do that individually. And it is an individual act of courage to do something that is against what you're programmed to do. But that a new system needs to be created. So in terms of a field of study of how people work together, there's a field called systems engineering, in that they are now giving out certifications, the ISO standards around this. And if you look at what's happening from a technology sense, we're now able to connect and create decentralized networks. Is that the power systems that was very centralized power systems operating from a shared mentality, and that we happen to be and can accept that we're in a time of change. One of the greatest thinkers, I think, around this is that she put out a human charge for us to be more humanistic. Capitalism required us to be more like a machine, right? Be a livestock. If you are a descendant of enslaved Africans, that's what you were. And so understanding that was the mentality that powered these systems. One of the other things when we went to Senegal is you can see capitalism, because that is Black people, and they took us through in the areas of the enslaved Africans before that they traded. And they literally had spaces where they standardized you. They fattened you up and fed you black-eyed peas and then sent you over abroad. It's the same mentality. So if we use that mentality to actually fix it, it's going to cause more of the problem. And that is in the history of places like Liberia. All war is about resources. And we need to actually develop a cooperative economy. And the truth of the matter, and this is a spiritual reality, is that climate change is going to be the equalizer for all human beings, because it doesn't care about geography. It doesn't care about politics. It doesn't care about race. Human beings are fighting an exponential change. And we are going to have to be the ones to create those systems that actually allow us to cooperate in a more cooperative fashion, that actually respect the human beings and that there's a thinker who I offer as a model, because she says we have to have enough imagination to reimagine everything. But that is a creative activity. It requires spiritual energy. Building is hard. Destruction is fast. So we have to build the new systems. Google wasn't existing 30 years ago. But the key piece is it popped off of a university, and now it's driving a model of innovation that the rest of the world is copying. But Google in Silicon Valley created a whole bunch of homeless. You all can create a new type of an innovation economy that can actually offer a new model. And this is addressing the reality in America and abroad. The framework is the just energy transition, is a intercontinental requirement and framework. You need to look at that framework. How can you do that and put that into play at Morehouse? And then you will grow that, or afterwards you'll grow that and do that in Africa. That's how we can do it. And that over time, it will grow into a new movement and a new reality that is post-corruption, post-capitalism. You will build what's next. And that thinker I was talking about is a woman named Grace Lee Boggs. She has a documentary on Prime called American Revolutionary, and it will change how you think about time and how you can decolonize your mind and your way of being. And it starts with you. And then you find other people who are doing that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think that was beautifully said. So I'm like I say, we can stay on for another couple of hours, and I'm sure we still find that time is too short, right? But we got to wrap up the session, right? I need to respect as well your time. So I want to thank our incredible panelists that we've had. So Jonathan Akwamwa, Sylvie Bello, John Jordan, you've been fantastic, definitely. Yeah, you've been sharing valuable insight. I'm sure the students have learned something, from your experience. So we've talked about innovative water world technologies. We talk about community-led initiative and long-term sustainable strategies. So I feel like we all gain a deeper understanding of the opportunity that's around us, challenges in securing clean water in Africa. And a key takeaway that I can get from a discussion that we have is that sustainable water solutions require collaborations between government, private sector partners, local communities, but also the diaspora. So whether we're talking about technological advancement, policy advocacy, or maybe grassroots engagement, we all have a role to play. Don't just look at the other person. You, what can you do to ensure that clean water becomes accessible to every person, including every African? So just thank you for joining us today. So I'm sure the conversation is going to continue beyond this event. So work towards real impactful solution. And who knows, maybe one of you will be sitting at the same place as John, talking to other students what they can do. So once again, happy 30 years anniversary, fantastic Africa Awareness Week. And we have one more session that I'm going to be moderating tomorrow. But for the time being, thank you very much, everybody. So I'm just going to see all of us all as in music. And then, yeah, I wish you a good rest of your day. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Rise of the sun in the morning light. Drums in the distance take flight. Heartbeats echo through the trees. Dancing shadows in the breeze. Feel the pulse of the ancient land. Footprints mark the golden sand. Voices harmonize the song. Nature calls and we belong. Let the rhythm take you high. Raise your hands up to the sky. Feel the energy ignite. Celebrate the day and night. Stars that twinkle in the night so bright, guiding paths with gentle light. Echoes of the past we hear, carried on the wind so clear. Colors blend in harmony. Life's a vibrant tapestry. Every beat a story told. Ancient wisdom hands